afternoon, Justice Seekers. I'm live. It is Friday. I'm going to turn down this real quick. Friday, October 14th. It's about 2:30 in the afternoon. And I've got some more ideas I want to share with you. I so appreciate you guys listening to me and sharing your ideas with me. As you know, I'm not that computer savvy, but I'm learning. I just bought a new laptop, so I need to learn how to use the laptop, and then that'll open up a lot more doors for me. So hopefully my presentations will be a little more diversified. We'll see. But I think I have some information you guys are going to be really interested in. Google has been sharing a lot with me. Rana Jane, hello. So the first thing I'll share is the last thing I just looked up on Google real quick, which is what I mentioned yesterday about November 1st being like a holy day for darkness. I don't know really how to say that, but I had thought that, Halloween was a thing, and then the day after Halloween was an even bigger thing. And it is. Wikipedia says so anyway. It is called Santa Muerte. And that is their favorite day of the year. So just interesting that the Nevada Sheriff's Office just happened to pull that November 1st day as their kind of artificial deadline, because we all knew it could come before then or after then. They were just giving us a bone, giving us something that we could hang our hat on until they gave us the final blow. So I really, really feel like this case is finally starting. For people that don't know this case that I just know in my real life and that I've been telling about my YouTube channel, I've shared with them that hi, Sleepless in South Africa. Nice to know that it's worldwide, but now my brain is off track. Something else I Googled: how often does a phone ping, or how often does an app ping, right? Because they've said that Kylie's phone pinged at 9:33 and then it went dark right then, and allegedly she went in the water right then. So a cell phone can ping on an app as often as every 5 minutes, and without an app, maybe once every 8 hours. So I just thought that was interesting, 5 minutes to 8 hours. So what are the chances? Interesting. Anyway, if my thought comes back, I'll reel it back in, unless you guys want to help me out here. I forget what I was talking about when Sleepless in South Africa drew my attention, and she says, "Love your channel. Thank you." So I have mentioned the mamandus. I think it's a writ of a mamandus is how you're supposed to say it. And that is a government entity making a formal court motion to force a lower government body to do their job and to do it legally and to follow the law. And earlier in one of my presentations, I had said, yeah, isn't that sad that they even need to have a word for that? But at the same time, thank goodness that they do have a word for it, because at least they're addressing it. It's sad to me that that needs to be addressed. It would be nice if we could just trust that people would do their job and do it ethically and do it legally. So there are some things that I think are very, very interesting that I really want to share with you. And let me just jump right in. Sammy's current boyfriend, I believe, is Philip Farco, or that was her boyfriend at the time of the party. He is a kid that wears a ball cap that has a flat top, flat bill. And in a lot of the photos that we see of him, he's got sunglasses on and the ball cap. And he's usually standing there like this, staring straight at the camera. So even if the camera is like 60 feet or 100 feet away and nobody else is looking at it, he's looking right at it. It's pretty creepy. And he's usually with his two amigos. So I think it was 22 or 22 cents who was calling them the three amigos. And I thought that was really cute. Kind of cute, not cute. Anyway, I used a photograph of Philip Farco and a couple of his amigos for one of my thumbnails last week. I just looked it up. It was 7 days ago. It was about 15 videos back. So if you're looking for that photograph, he's a cute young man. If he has a good personality, he's cute anyway. If he has a bad personality, not cute by my standards. But apparently he is going to UC Santa Cruz, which I thought was interesting because Kylie had her sights set on UC Santa Cruz. So it got me to thinking that if she was going to be living locally in Truckee still and attending college at Sierra College, the local community college, that she was probably talking to people that lived in Santa Cruz or were planning to go to Santa Cruz, probably talking about going to visit, right? So she can see what the campus is like and get to know people and things. And I thought, gee, wouldn't that make Sammy jealous? It's my suspicion that Sammy and Kylie were rivals with Jagger, and then rivals with Nate Hambrick, and then maybe some type of rivalry with this kid, Philip Farco. And I say kid, but he's over 18, so otherwise I wouldn't use his name. Anyway, I think that the three amigos know a lot, and I think that they need to talk, and I think they need to talk to not local law enforcement, like maybe some U.S. Marshals, maybe some federal authorities. We've got to get a writ of a memandus, if I'm saying that right. So, every single one of these law enforcement officials that have been involved in this, like the 60 that were at the supposed search, the 18 entities, it is my opinion that every single one of those law enforcement officials is an embarrassment to the profession, and that the profession cannot afford such lack of integrity and embarrassment, and that they should be questioned, and that they should be potentially blacklisted, potentially kicked out of the profession. I mean, seriously, folks, we need to have some order. That is what law is for, law and order. They failed Kylie miserably. Yes, they did. And Sammy is just an evil person, in my opinion, Sleepless in Seattle says. She is definitely showing all the signs of a true sociopath, in my humble professional opinion. So, we've been talking about boycotting Truckee, boycotting the Lake Tahoe area with their ski season. They're hoping to start next month. And, I think that is a good idea to consider, but I also think that it could hurt some people that can't afford to be hurt if they're kind of the working class, the working poor in the Truckee area, and they're dependent on that income to pay their bills and feed their families. So I feel a little bit mixed about that. Like, I definitely think we need to boycott Truckee, boycott Tahoe, hit them where it counts, and make them feel the pain so that they get it together. And yet I am torn because the working poor need their cash. And so how are they going to get it if there's a boycott? So I don't know. I mean, that's not for me to decide anyway. It's kind of the consensus of a much larger group of people. So one of the things that I have in all caps is, and hear me now, you're going to like this. I think it's true. If Nick, the roadside assistance guy, if Nick was wrong, if he was incorrect, if his story didn't check out, we would have heard about it by now. Law enforcement and Jagger, all of them, they would have been so excited to come and tell us that this guy's full of it and the tapes show something different than what he describes, or that he couldn't produce the tapes. We all know that the company he worked for gave the footage to law enforcement. Now, law enforcement might lose it. That happens a lot in cases where there's cover-ups. Evidence gets destroyed, evidence gets lost. All they need to do is fabricate a piece of paper that says it was lost, it was destroyed, it never existed in the first place, there was a glitch in the system that day. That's a common one. Oh, well, it usually gets everything, but that day there was a glitch in the system. So sorry, not sorry. So it would be very easy for law enforcement to discredit it. Still, in my opinion, they think. Does that make sense? It's my opinion that if there's corruption, and I think there certainly is corruption, that they think that they can still discredit it and say, it's garbage. We don't need to show it to you. That would compromise the integrity of the investigation. Mind you, the integrity of the investigation was shot to shit when the videotapes from the supposed California forest fire cameras were all over the internet. It's my understanding that those videotapes were emailed to a lot of the big YouTubers, and I am very suspicious that those emails, when opened, could have installed some spyware. I don't know. I think you need to watch out for this kind of thing. So you've heard me say it once or twice. You've heard other people say it, that there are similarities with Gabby Petito's case and Kylie Rodney's case. To me, the most obvious similarities are that they're both beautiful young women, slender and relatively tall and blonde hair and just really much tens if you're going to score a person on their physical appearance. These girls are absolute top-notch, beautiful young women. And they both died in national parks, national forest areas. So there's other similarities too. They're both near interstates, and maybe, I know obviously Truckee right on Interstate 80. I'm not sure about the Grand Teton, how 80 is with the Grand Teton. I'd have to look at the map again. I've looked at it, but it's been a while. Anyway, Coffindaffer. Have you heard of Miss Coffindaffer? She is allegedly a retired FBI expert who's been offering her opinion about the whole Kylie Rodney case. And so Miss Coffindaffer is not somebody I've paid much attention to, but it sounds like she's been hired to do some damage control. And lo and behold, I think this was on Armchair Detective, who I love to give shout outs to Armchair Detective. If you haven't heard of him, check him out. He's great. Coffindaffer covered Gabby Petito too. What do you know? So she just comes out of the clear blue sky to cover Gabby Petito, and then she goes back into the ether, and then she comes out of the clear blue sky again to cover Kylie Rodney. Isn't that interesting? What a quinky dink. So I've described to you how I'm not psychic, how you just keep an open mind. You look for things, you see a pattern, you know what to expect next, or you have an idea of what to expect next, what's likely to happen. So for the stage to be set with all of a sudden, 2 months into this case, again, out of the clear blue ether, all of a sudden there's an eyewitness, but she's not going to come forward because she doesn't speak English that well. And she tried to call the police, but they didn't want to talk to her. They didn't want to hear her story. But there was a mouse in a grocery store, and we all know that Megan chased the mouse and ran into her and got the whole story, right? And therefore, she's going across the internet panels and saying way too much and just a whole bunch of BS. Anyway, and she kept saying, oh, tomorrow, in 24 hours, within 24 hours, this big thing is going to be released, and you'll know what I'm talking about, and it'll back up everything I'm saying, and blah, 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 blah. And then the videotape happened. So my point is that videotape being released completely compromised the integrity of the investigation. It shot to shit. And it's all about the optics. Normally investigations are the integrity is preserved for a potential court case, for a trial. This is looking to me like it's all about the social media. It's all about the public perception. It's all about, what does it look like to people and how can we control the narrative? And it's just such a crock of crap. Let's just say that fire cam is everything that people want to say that it is. Let's just go with that for a moment. It being released on the interwebs put it directly into the trash can. It compromised the integrity of the investigation, and specifically using that as evidence. Okay? In a trial, it would probably be thrown out because of that. So they wouldn't be able to use it. And I started to say this, but I wanted to say it again about how, this is what I was saying when I lost track of what I was saying. That when I tell people about my new YouTube channel and the case that I'm covering, I tell them that, it gets worse every day. Like, you think it can't get worse, and it just keeps careening downhill out of control, getting worse and worse and worse. And a lot of times I would add, and I really don't think it's even started yet. And I've thought that all along. I've felt that all along, that, there was just this sense that it had not even begun. And now I feel like it's begun. I think that's what yesterday was. Now the case is starting to open up. And hopefully there will be a lot of good people doing a lot of good work with integrity, and the truth will prevail, hopefully. That's not always the case. Honestly, people in positions of power to abuse their authority and to manipulate facts and data, they're the one with the pen, so to speak. They're the ones who control the narrative. So if they want to do that, and they clearly want to do that, and they have been doing it, they're able to. So far, so good, right? That's what we've seen. But, they've pulled national and international attention to themselves. And initially they did that themselves when they were trying to find their lost person. And they said, please, everybody in the world, help us. If you see this person, or you see this car, or you see this necklace, if you see the triple strand gold necklace, keep your eyes open for that necklace. Why? What is the story with the necklace? Why were we told, above all else, above the car, above the person, look for that necklace, because you're probably going to see that necklace, but you're probably not going to see that person or the car? And what happened to that? Additionally, hold on one sec, let me get a drink. Okay. Additionally, the bracelets. We've all seen that Kylie wore a few bracelets, and one of them was white. I think it was about maybe as thick as this gold one, but like little balls that look like they might be stones or rocks. And Sammy has one very similar, if not the exact same bracelet, if not the bracelet. And it's creepy. So the necklace, the bracelet, where's that necklace now? And is that bracelet something that Sammy got on her own that just happened to be like Kylie's bracelet? Or is that something they got together? Additionally, the attention to necklaces, Mags and Sammy, at least Mags and Sammy, I'm not sure if any of the other young women in this story have like matching amethyst necklaces, I think. And I think that's significant. I think that's like a friendship kind of thing, like little girls do. Usually it's kids much younger than 18. I wanted to talk for a minute about the difference between losing somebody to a homicide or other. If someone's murdered, it is atrocious. Any death is difficult, right? Losing somebody to natural causes is very, very difficult. Losing somebody to a car accident is very, very difficult. Losing someone to suicide, in my experience, and I've known at least one good friend who did that, who unalived herself when she was 19, is extremely heinous to deal with. I can't imagine if that was a family member or your significant other, your child, your parent. I mean, people have to live with this all the time, and it's so tragic. But homicide, and I have known a couple of people who have been murdered. Homicide is the worst one of all. You would think suicide would be, but at least with suicide, it's kind of like a choice. There's still like that freedom. The problem with murder is the gross victimization. See 22 Cents Rituals video about the necklace. Okay, I will. I like what he does. So victimization is so traumatic. I mean, people are just blindsided with the inability to make a choice in a situation and having all of their power taken away from them, whether that is a mugging or sexual assault, being victimized by having somebody that you care about be murdered. It's so awful to think that humans can be that disgusting and that they think that they have a right to act out their disgusting, horrible issues on other individuals or animals, or, you know, it's really, really awful. Hopefully most of us will never have to experience that. Um, it's something that a lot of people don't think that they can live with, but again, you are sometimes forced to. I mean, the alternative is that you take your own life, and that's not a very good alternative either for yourself and for your loved ones. So, to be victimized is, to me, one of the most hideous things a person can go through, to have your personal power taken away. And again, getting back into just our whole freedom in our country and what America stands for and what America was built on, and having trust and faith in our system, in our liberties, in our ability to decide for ourselves what it is that we want and how it is that we want to proceed with our lives. It's so paramount important. We do not live in a fascist regime. Other countries do, and they mostly idolize our democracy and want to be like us. Of course, our democracy is imperfect, but it is especially imperfect when people abuse the system, when people get into these positions of power and they want to hurt other people. And I've spoken about this once before in my videos, that power is a drug, it's addictive. And these people, given all of this power and trust in their communities, and they get away with so many things, and they just can't stop themselves. They're impulsive, they're compulsive, and they will just continue to go down that road until somebody does an intervention of sorts, basically, right? I think we've all seen it. It's like a crackhead, but they're high off of their power. So it's very dangerous, and it's just very unfortunate that people are abusive like that. And the bottom line with people who are abusive is that they feel a lack of control in their own life, and so they're trying to control someone else. Really, it all boils down to that. So when I spoke about the three amigos, the videotape that I made, that I used that thumbnail photograph of them with their hats and their sunglasses. I think two of them have the hats and sunglasses, and one has his hand over his mouth like this. And it seems like every picture I've ever seen of that one kid, he's always got his hand over his mouth. It's very suspicious. But one of the titles in that video, if you're looking for it, is hashtag catfish crew. And, I came up with that for a name for this whole trucky phenomena, catfish crew. They're playing that catfishing game, and it's so annoying. Dodging Bullet says Truckee needs to get a good old-fashioned brush up. I thought you were going to say big old can of whoop ass opened on them. It's really, really sickening, and I'm appalled. I'm appalled for the people that live there. I'm appalled for Kylie, who lost her life, and I'm appalled for first responders everywhere, not just law enforcement, but firefighters, medics. If these people are going to swear up and down that car went into that part of the water on August 6th at 12:33, 34 in the morning, they have to say that we were out there every day for 2 weeks and we couldn't see it in the crystal clear water 55 feet away from where we were standing so much of the time, 14 feet under the water, which is only 7 feet until you hit the car, since the car is about 7 feet tall, and just about 300 yards from that party. These are extremely short distances. If you look at 60 feet, I believe a volleyball court is 60 feet long. Both sides, it's 30 feet on each side. It's an extremely short distance to think a car right there. Like, what? It's not even funny. It's just not even funny. And neither is that thing about the phone pinging potentially as often as every 5 minutes, and possibly only once every 8 hours. Okay? Again, it's something I hadn't thought about. I just looked it up today. I had been thinking about it, but then I would forget before I would look it up. So I finally got that. So I think I have everything covered. Again, with the armchair detective, the man is amazing. He's been working for years on the Chris Watts case, and he has been gaslit and abused by these people. He has some really, really valid points and good questions, as does the Watts, the obsession creator. That case is not been handled with true justice. For those of you who don't know, it was basically a confession, and signed, sealed, delivered, wrapped up. None of the evidence was processed. None of the confession was matched to the evidence to see if the story really added up. And that was 4 lives lost. That was a 34-year-old Shanann Watts, a 3-year-old Cece, a 4-year-old Bella, and a 4-month Nico bun in the oven. People always want to say, oh, well, Gabby could have been pregnant, or Kylie could have been pregnant. And yeah, any woman can be pregnant, but Shanann was pregnant. She was growing a baby. And the man who was responsible for her death and all of their deaths was the one who wanted her to get pregnant again. I mean, it's treacherous, but the case was mishandled. Thank goodness for people like Watts, the obsession creator, and armchair detective. They are really, really good professionals, really good people, really big hearts, and they're seeking justice. So Kevin Neese is somebody that a lot of folks have recommended to me, and I have been enjoying his work a lot. I thank you for everybody who's suggested that I check him out. both Kevin and armchair detective Alan, that's his name, they both said the same word about the Megan story and then the video and then the autopsy results. Both of them said, how convenient. How convenient. How convenient that we have Megan come forward and then the videotape and then the autopsy results. Just so convenient, right? I thought that that sums it up really well. And Pinky Jojo says, Kevin cracks me up. And Dodging Bullet says, thumbs up for AZ. Well, thank you. I really appreciate that. I've admired so many of these YouTube creators that I feel like are doing it for the right reasons. Anybody who's doing it just for the clicks, just for the money, and they don't care about truth and justice, what are we going to do? It's a free country, but you don't have to watch theirs. You don't have to give them the clicks. And, there's so many creators out there, even just in the true crime community. I'm sure there's hundreds. I'm sure I've only heard of not even half of them. So I guess we're getting more new ones all the time, which there's nothing wrong with that. I think a lot of people like myself think about it and don't do it. And then maybe one day you do, right? In some ways, I can't believe that I started doing it. In other ways, I'm like, what took me so long? What was I waiting for? I kind of felt like everybody had it covered, so I could just kick back and watch all these wonderful creators. And then, like I said, with this case, I just wasn't finding the coverage that I wanted to find. Specifically, there were things that I felt like needed to be said that I couldn't find anybody saying them. And so I'm glad that I started my channel. When I started, I thought this case is pretty much done. Maybe I'll come in for the last few days of it and, have a couple of podcasts. And lo and behold, here we are, a month and a half later. And in my estimation, the case is just starting. Really, think about that. To me, this case is just starting. We'll see. And one last thing that I wanted to say about Nick. Remember, I said in all caps, I wrote, if he was wrong, we would have heard about it already. And I think that's 100% true. But I think this was something that Armchair Detective said, is that they could change the metadata on Nick's dash cam footage. They could actually change it if they wanted to. They could change the date on it really, really, really easily. I mean, come on, people. We all know how easy it is to Photoshop, whether it's a video or a photograph. It's extremely easy. I could probably do it, and my technical skills are very challenged. But if somebody showed me, I could probably just go right in there and change the date on something like that in a minute. A minute. Come on. Anyway, again, I want to say my point is not whether these videotapes are true or false. And I feel like it's really important that we do not allow something like that to divide our YouTube community. We kind of are a family. I know it sounds corny, but we are. We're here for each other. We're supporting each other. We all have the same goals. And we're all different people. And that's the beauty of it. So don't allow the division. That is part of how abusers isolate their victims so that they can abuse them some more. And, we all know with fascist dictatorships, it's all about the dividing and the conquering. So, people are more powerful when they're in numbers. That's the way the world works. So let's stick together. We will get through this. Justice for Kylie. Let's push and push and push. Kevin Neese says he's got a contact in DC and he's going to put some fire under the guy's feet to go get busy in the Nevada County Sheriff's Office. And I hope he can, and I hope he does. So, like I've said again and again, it's on each one of us in a democracy to make sure that the democracy is working. It's not on the democracy to make sure that itself is working, and it's certainly not on the people in these positions of power to make sure that it's working, because they get in there and they get all cozy and they start, misdirecting funds or misappropriation of funds. They make a mistake here and a mistake there, and money ends up disappearing, and no one's the wiser. And, like with any job, when you start getting sloppy with your work habits, you get sloppy with your work habits. And when you've been in a job for 20 years and you've gotten so sloppy with your work habits, you're not going to get it together. I mean, I've seen a lot of people in a lot of professions, and, it just it's not something that you can just stop and clean up. It's like you need to be stopped. These people need to be stopped. And some of what it looks like they're doing is criminal. And if it is, people in law enforcement have been put in prison before for breaking the law. It is rare, especially when they are in positions of power, when they're like the top dog in the department. But it does happen. It absolutely happens. So let's try to have faith in our system and the good people that make our system work. And if you have any contacts, like what Kevin Neese was saying, call these people. Okay, please. I'm going to read a few of these. Justice, is your name Lady Liberty? That's so cute. I've always loved the Statue of Liberty, and I got to go walk up into it when I was just 7 years old with my grandparents, and I would love to take my own kids there. Genocide. Oh, that's a good one. Oh my goodness. I'm friends with Eric Swalwell, the 15th District California representative in Congress. I'm contacting him immediately. Rock on, Genocide. Rock on. And Tamlin 11 says, when you get so used to being corrupt for so long, I feel you naturally become not only corrupt, but incompetent at your job. I feel like that's what's happening in law enforcement. Sid Vicious says, hey there. Hey, Sid Vicious. Sis Vicious. I've seen you in some of these groups. You're great. Thanks. This case is just beginning, in my opinion, Dodging Bullets says, agreeing with my assessment of the situation. So, what Tamlin said about, you not only become corrupt, but you become incompetent. Absolutely. If you're in any profession, like let's say you're a surgeon, right? You have to keep your skills sharp. You have to do those surgeries daily to stay at the top of your game. You absolutely have to be practicing. That's what it's all about. With any profession, I feel like you're practicing, just being an adult, you're practicing, right? I feel like these people in Truckee just don't know how to adult. and it's not that we do, right? I mean, we're all kind of fumbling at times, but we want to give it our best shot. We want to be there for the people around us. We want to be smart and helpful and responsible, right? I mean, it's sad when folks lose that interest, and drugs are one thing that definitely make people lose that interest. I know, I've been through it myself. It's been a long time. How can they close the case without the California Highway Patrol report? They just do whatever they want. That's how. Why are you asking? So yes, I've mentioned before about my sobriety, and I've got, I think it's 32 years. It's crazy. I was 22, so I guess it's 33 years actually. I went through an outpatient program because I was a complete stoner. I smoked so much pot, alcohol and other substances, not so much. But when you're using substances, you're using substances. You'll use whatever is available to you. Basically, if your drug of choice is not available, you'll go with whatever is around. And, some people say, oh, that's just pot. And you know what? It was ruining my life and I couldn't control it. And I'm so glad I got professional help at such a young age. I don't take my sobriety for granted ever. And when I see other people using, and they might say, "Oh, sorry, we don't want to tempt you." It's just like, believe me, you're not tempting me. You're hitting home that I made the right choice, and you don't need to be sorry. Like, I feel sorry for folks that are using. And for any of the viewers out there, if you're using, I don't judge you at all. But I do want to encourage you to get help, get professional help, talk to somebody. It makes all the difference in the world. You have to go to a higher power. That doesn't have to be God, in my opinion. It doesn't have to be a religious faith. It can be another person or people around you. You have to get outside of yourself because you are just, completely controlled by the addiction if you're truly addicted. I mean, that's just the way addiction works. It's a monster. So I seen a story about somebody that drowned at the same place and they wouldn't go and remove his body or car until the forestry people came to do it. So I don't see why they weren't there. Yeah, what about that 15-year-old girl that Nate Kubikanya was arrested for giving fentanyl to and sexually assaulting? Are there similarities between her story and Kylie's story? And should we run down the Nates real quick and then we'll wrap it up? I'm at 41 minutes because my count is 6. Let's see if I can name them all. Nate Kabakunya, Nate Hambrick, another Nate H. I don't know if I've ever had that. If there is another Nate H, I heard that there was. Nate Wu, Nate Smith, and Nate Tesloff. Those are the 6 that I've heard were at the party. So Nate Wu, his dad is the sheriff of Placer County. This case started in Placer County as a missing persons case. It became a death investigation in Nevada County on August 21st, the moment they located her remains. So on that, we'll wrap it up. Have a great weekend. I'm going to try to take at least one day off this weekend. I don't know if I can, but I'm going to try to. I have a lot of things I like to do with my time. I've shared with you some of them, like gardening and just hiking around and swimming and just chilling out. Gardening is a big one. And with it being the middle of fall, it's kind of important to get things in order, even though they were in order a few days ago. All the leaves have fallen, so you got to just keep with it. Anyway, then there's also all the fun housework that needs to be done to keep up with that, and dishes and laundry and all those good things, shopping. Anyway, I enjoy you guys so much. Thank you. Please take care of yourselves, drink your water, eat your protein, eat your fruits and veggies, get your exercise, be around people that treat you well, that you respect, that respect you, and tell all the others to bite you. Bite me, bite you, right? Just step off. I like that one. That's from School of Rock with Jack Black. Just step off. So on that, peace out, folks. I'll see you on the next one. Thank you so much for watching. And I think we will get justice for Miss Kylie Rodney. I really do. Keep the faith.